It's the book of 2nd Ezra 3 and verse 30, and it reads, "For I have seen how thou sufferest them sinning, and hast spared wicked doers, and hast destroyed thy people, and hast preserved thine enemies, and hast not signified it. I do not remember how this way may be left. Are they then of Babylon better than they of Zion? Or is there any other people that knoweth thee besides Israel? Or what generation have so believed thy covenants as Jacob, and yet their reward appeareth not, and their labor hath no fruit? For I have gone here and there through the heathen, and I see that they flow in wealth, and think not upon thy commandments. Weigh thou therefore our wickedness now in the balance, and theirs also that dwell the earth. So shall thy name nowhere be found but in Israel. Or when was it that they which dwell upon the earth have not sinned in thy sight? Or what people have so kept thy commandments?" Verse 36, "Thou shalt find that Israel by name hath kept thy precepts, but not the heathen." Brakateh Yahweh, Brakateh Yahushai, Brakateh Yahweh, Brakateh Yahushai, Brakateh Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakak Wadash, Kohalo Yamla, Allah Yanawa Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai. All praises to our power, Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, who's the God of Israel. You so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, you comprise the 12 tribes of Israel. You are the true chosen people and lineage and seed of the Most High God of heaven and earth, Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, who's the God of the heavens and the earth, and only the God of Israel. Double honor to the elders and apostles who've labored faithfully in His truth and are indeed the true teachers of Israel today. Peace, love, blessings, and salutations to the hopeful elect, the brothers out laboring to make their calling of election sure, helping seal the elect of the nation of Israel for the return of our Lord and Mashiach Yahushai is at hand. To the Akim and Akwathim also who listen and believe, the brothers and sisters, to you I say shalom as well. So shalom, Mr. Brother Sagalai, coming back with a lesson through the Spirit. Lord willing, this lesson is edifying for those that have eyes to see and ears to hear through the Rakak Kodash, which is the Holy Spirit. So I'm going to jump right into it and go into the fact of, the children of Israel, are only the people of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai. Only. The Lord, said, and I'll get a few precepts before we jump into the meat of this thing. The Lord said that He only knows the Israelites. That only the Israelites are His people. So I just wanted to jump into that fact and get a few precepts once again and hopefully edify. It's the book of Amos 3:1. It says, "Hear this word that the Lord Yahweh hath spoken against you, O children of Israel, against the whole family which I brought up from the land of Egypt, saying, You only have I known of all the families of the earth. You only have I known of all the families of the earth. Therefore I will punish you for all of your iniquities." And iniquities going to evil doings, which is breaking the law, statutes, and commandments. So the Lord said He only knew the nation of Israel. He only knew the children of Yasha Allah, the princes of the power. He said He didn't know all nations. So the reason why is because His law, statutes, and commandments, as we go through the precepts, were not given to all people, but only to the Israelites. Matthew 15:24, and it reads, and this is the words of Hamashiach Yahushai. It says, "But He answered and said, I am not sent but unto the lost sheep of the house of Israel." I read it again. Matthew 15:24, and it reads, "But He answered and said, I am not sent but unto the lost sheep of the house of Israel." So the Lord, Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, was only sent to give salvation, to the children of Israel. So the other nations are not the people of the Most High. And it's clearly shown, throughout the Holy Scriptures, and through the precepts. So I go back to 2nd Ezra 2 and 30, where the Lord spoke about the evil doings that's done on the earth. And actually, I'll get right to the point. I'll start at verse 31. It says, 2nd Ezra 3 and 31. It says, I do not remember how this way may be left. It says, and it's a question being asked, are they then of Babylon, speaking of the heathen, the other nations, better than they of Zion? A question being asked by Ezra. It says, or is there any other people that knoweth thee besides Israel? It says, are there any other nations that have solidarity with the Most High that can be called the people, of the Most High? Is what the question that Ezra is asking. So let's get another precept through the Spirit. It's the book of Deuteronomy 7 and verse 6, and it says, for thou art an holy people unto the Lord Yahweh thy power. The Lord Yahweh thy power hath chosen thee to be a special people unto himself, above all people that are upon the face of the earth. So the Most High chose Israel to be above all people. And Israel are his chosen people, which he said is a special people. And it says unto himself, showing that, the relationship of the Israelites to the Most High is only akin to one another, not to any of the other nations. So the other nations have no part nor inheritance, from the Most High. So as we go back to 2nd Ezra 3 and 31, when it's speaking about Babylon, which is going into the heathen nations, it says, are they better than Zion? In verse 32, or is there any people, other people that knoweth thee beside Israel? Deuteronomy 7 and 6 says that the Lord, he only chose Israel, along with Amos 3, 1 through 2. It says, of what generation have so believed thy covenants as Jacob? Has there been any other people that the covenants were given to? It says, verse 33, and yet their reward appeareth not, and their labor hath no fruit. For I have gone here and there through the heathen, and I see that they flow in wealth and think not upon thy commandments. So Ezra said, I see that all the heathen, that they're in rulership, they're in wealth, but they don't keep your commandments, because the heathen were never given the commandments of the Most High Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua. So let's show that. Let's go real quick to the book of Psalm. This is Psalm 148 and verse 14. And it reads, the heathen were never given the commandments of the Most High. Psalm 148 and 14, and it reads, he also exalted the horn of his people, the praise of all of his saints, even of the children of Israel, a people near unto him. Praise ye the Lord. So the Lord said the children of Israel are a people that's near to him, and his saints are the children of Israel. So now let's get another precept. This is the book. See if I can get it. So Lakia, we're just rolling in the spirit here. I believe it's Psalm. This is the book of Psalm. Psalm 147 and 19. Psalm 147 and 19. And it reads, he showeth his word unto Jacob, which are the Israelites. Salakia. Reading it again. This is Psalm 147 and 19. And it reads, he showeth his word unto Jacob, which are the Israelites, his statutes and his judgments unto Israel. He hath not dealt so with any nation. As for his judgments, they have not known them. Praise ye the Lord Yahweh. So the other nations have not known the judgments, the law, statutes, and commandments, because the law, statutes, and commandments, which is the words of the Most High, was given only unto Israel, the scriptures say. So let's go back to 2nd Ezra 3 and 34. It says, weigh thou therefore our wickedness now in the balance, and theirs also that dwell in the world, speaking of the other nations. And so shall thy name nowhere be found but in Israel. So the name of the Most High is only found in Israel. the princes of the power, Yasha'Allah. It's only speaking about the 12 tribes. It says, or when was it that they which dwell upon the earth have not sinned in thy sight? Or what people have so kept thy commandments? Only the Israelites, because the commandments were only given to the nation of Israel. Verse 36, it says, thou shalt find that Israel by name, which is Yasha'Allah, hath kept thy precepts, but not the heathen. So the heathen have not kept the precepts, have not kept the laws, statutes, and commandments of the Most High, because they are not the people of the Most High Yahweh Hashem Yahushua. Let's get another precept just showing that the Most High only knows the children of Israel because he only gave, his inheritance unto the nation of Israel. Isaiah 63 and verse 17, and it reads, O Lord Yahweh, why hast thou made us to err from thy ways, and harden our heart from thy fear? See, the Lord, foreknew and foretold that the children of Israel would fall away from the law, statutes, and commandments, and go into captivity under the nations, So it says that the Lord, why hast thou made us to err from thy ways, meaning to go astray from what? The law, statutes, and commandments. It says, and harden our hearts from thy fear, and that goes into our people, not serving the Most High and not having a mind to want to, keep the laws of the Most High and being his people. It says, return for thy servant's sake the tribes of thine inheritance. And the servants of the Most High is the people of the Most High. Those are his servants. So it says, return the tribes of thy servant's sake. It says, the tribes of thine inheritance. And who was that inheritance given to? The children of Israel. Isaiah 63 and 18, thy people, the people of thy holiness have possessed it but a little while. Our adversaries have trodden down thy sanctuary. So our people only experienced 40 years of rulership. Isaiah 63 and 19, we are thine. Thou never bearest rule over them. Speaking of the heathen, it says they are not called by thy name. So the heathen are not known or called by the name of Yasha'Allah. Only, you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, which are the 12 tribes of Israel. So the heathen is not known, nor have they ever been known or called by the name of the Most High. So now let's show that, even further. This is the book of Psalm 10 and 4, and it reads, the wicked, speaking of Esau, Edom, and the other nations, for that matter as well, underneath the children of the wicked, which is the Edomites. It says, the wicked, through the pride of his countenance, will not seek after the Most High. The Most High is not in all of his thoughts. So the Most High is not in the thoughts of the wicked, which is 2/3 of the nation of Israel. Well, starting with the children of the wicked, which are the Edomites, 2/3 of the nation of Israel, along with the heathen, are not in the thoughts of the Most High. So the Most High is not in all of their thoughts. And truly, they are not all in the Most High's thoughts, because only the elect of the nation of Israel, are in that steed currently. So now, as we continue on, I want to get a quick precept just going into the fact that the law, statutes, and commandments were only given to the children of Israel and not the heathen nations. Deuteronomy 4, and I'll start at verse 2. And it reads, now I'll start at verse 5, Deuteronomy 4 and 5. Behold, I have taught you statutes and judgments, even as the Lord Yahweh, my power, commanded me, that ye should do so in the land whither ye go to possess it. Keep therefore and do them, speaking of the law, statutes, and commandments, for this is your wisdom and your understanding in the sight of the nations, which shall hear all these statutes and say, surely this great nation is a wise and understanding people. Verse 7, Deuteronomy 4 and 7, for what nation is there so great, who hath the Most High so nigh unto them, as the Lord Yahweh our power is in all things that we call upon for him. Verse 8, Deuteronomy 4 and 8, and what nation is there so great, that hath statutes and judgments so righteous as all this law which I set before you this day? So the law, statutes, and commandments is what separate the children of Israel from all the other people, because that makes the nation of Israel, synonymous with the Most High. That makes Israel be one and have solidarity with Yahweh Bashem Yahushua. So let's continue on. The Most High is not in all the thoughts, of the non-elect members, which is only 1/3 of the nation of Israel. And that the name of Israel was only given to the children of Israel. So you can only qualify if you were indeed an Israelite. Let's show that further. This is the book of Sirach 47 and verse 22. This is the book of Sirach 47 and 22. And it reads, "But the Lord will never leave off his mercy, neither shall any of his works perish." And part of the works of the Most High is the law, statutes, and commandments, which the scriptures say are perfect and they endure forever. So his works, which were only given to the children of Israel, those works have never perished. And the creation of his holy people is also a part of those works. It says, "Neither will he abolish the posterity, which are the children, the lineage, the offspring of his elect," speaking of the elect, "and the seed of him that loveth him he will not take away. Wherefore he gave a remnant unto Jacob, and out of him a root unto David." And that remnant is the elect. He gave a remnant, which is the elect of the nation of Israel. As it says in Isaiah 1 and 9, if it wasn't for the remnant, we would be as Sodom and Gomorrah. So let's get a few more precepts just showing that, that the Most High is not in all the thoughts, of those who are not of the elect. And he's only with the Israelites. So Israel was chosen before the beginning of the world to be the Most High's people. They were divinely selected and appointed for eternal salvation, starting with the remnant, the elect. So let's show that further. This is the book of Sirach 24, starting at verse 6. And it reads, it says, "In the ways of the sea, and in all the earth, and in every people and nation, I got a possession." So in all peoples of the earth, they're Israelites in all of them, because the bloodline of Jacob, is literally, there's Israelites amongst the other nations that look like the heathen, but they are the Israelite foreigners, also known as confusion of faces. So it says, once again, Sirach 24 and 6, "In the ways of the sea, and in all the earth, and in every people and nation, I got a possession. With all these I sought rest, and in whose inheritance shall I abide? So the Creator of all things gave me a commandment, and he that made me caused my tabernacle to rest, and said, Let thy dwelling be in Jacob, and thine inheritance in Israel." So, the people of the Most High are the Israelites. The inheritance of the Lord is the children of Israel. So let's prove that further. Deuteronomy 32 and verse 7, and it reads, "Remember the days of old, consider the years of many generations. Ask thy father, and he will show thee, thy elders, and they will teach thee. When the Most High divided to the nations their inheritance, when he separated the sons of Adam, he set the bounds of the people according to the number of the children of Israel." Verse 9, Deuteronomy 32 and 9, "For the Lord Yahweh's portion is his people. Jacob is the lot of his inheritance." So the inheritance of the Lord, his people, is the Israelites, and only the Israelites. That's why, thou never bearest rule over them. They were not called by thy name. So when you go back, to Sirach or Ecclesiasticus 24, in verse 8, the latter part, it says, "Let thy dwelling be in Jacob, and thine inheritance in Israel," because that's the Lord's portion. Going back to Deuteronomy 32 and 9, "For the Lord's portion is his people. Jacob is the lot of his inheritance." And we know Jacob's name was changed to Israel. So the Israelites are the people of the Most High, and only. So let's continue on to verse 10. It says, "He found him in the desert, and in the waste howling wilderness, he led him about." Speaking of when our people was in the wilderness for 40 years, it says he led him about. He instructed him. The Most High instructed us through what? through the law, statutes, and commandments, through the Torah that was given to, our forefather Moses, which is the law, statutes, and commandments. He instructed us. He kept him as the apple of his eye. So the nation of Israel was kept as the apple of the Lord's eye, which is his people. Now, let's show a quick precept through the Spirit why the Lord said he kept them as the apple of his eye. Speaking of the nation of Israel, Proverbs 7:1, it reads, "My son, keep my words and lay up my commandments with thee. Keep my commandments and live, and the law as the apple of thine eye." So the law, statutes, and commandments are supposed to be the apple of our eye. They're supposed to be of the utmost importance to showing our faith through learning, understanding, and applying the words of the Most High. The law is supposed to be, the apple of our eye, because we are the apple of the Most High's eye. So all these things are supposed to work in unison. Now, as we continue on, let's get another example. This is the book, and I'll close it out. This is the book of 2nd Esdras through the Spirit. 2nd Esdras, the 6th chapter. Let's get that. 2nd Esdras 6. And I'll start at verse 54. 2nd Esdras 6 and 54, and it reads, "And after these Adam also, whom thou madest Lord of all thy creatures, of him come we all, and the people also whom thou hast chosen, which are the Israelites. All this have I spoken before thee, O Lord, because thou madest the world for our sake." So the world was made for the children of Israel to rule in. Verse 56, "As for the other people, the other nations, which also come of Adam, thou hast said that they are nothing, but be like unto spittle." So the Most High said that other nations are like unto spit in comparison, to the children of Israel, and has likened the abundance of them unto a drop that falleth from a vessel, showing that the other nations are insignificant, in comparison to the nation of Israel. Because Isaiah, the 40th chapter, tells you, when you read down from 15 to 17, that the nations are less than nothing in vanity. Verse 57, 2nd Esdras 6 and 57, "And now, O Lord, behold, these heathen, the other nations, which have ever been reputed as nothing, have begun to be lords over us and to devour us." Speaking of their rulership, when you go back to 2nd Esdras, the 3rd chapter, it talked about the nations being in rulership over the children of Israel. "But we, thy people, whom thou hast called thy firstborn, thy only begotten, and thy fervent lover, are given into their hands," meaning the other nations, have put us under subjection, hardcore bondage and rulership, going back to the time, of Egypt, on to the Babylonian captivity, after the Babylonian captivity, being under the rule of the Greeks, when they defiled the temple and our sanctuary, then the Romans, when they took over, Jerusalem in 70 AD, and then on through in between captivities, those speaking of the Persians and the Mede, and then on to the time of the Romans when Yahushua was here, and then now here in America. Let me read it again. 2nd Esdras 6 and 58, "But we, thy people, whom thou hast called thy firstborn, thy only begotten, and thy fervent lover, are given into their hands, the other nations. If the world now be made for our sakes, why do we not possess an inheritance with the world? How long shall this endure?" So this should be, what should be in the spirit and the minds, of the children of Israel that are awakening. Is how long is this rulership of the other nations going to endure? Or how long are we going to be in subjection, to the heathen? And that heathen now is speaking first and foremost, of those that rule the earth, which is the Edomites. Earth is given into the hand of the wicked. How long are we going to be under the rule of the wicked? Now, the Lord gave us more understanding in the same chapter. 2nd Esdras 6, if we go further up, in 7 it reads, "Then answered I and said, What shall be the parting asunder of the times? Or when shall the end of the first, and the beginning of it that followeth? And he said unto me, From Abraham unto Isaac, when Jacob and Esau were born of him, Jacob's hand held first the heel of Esau. For Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth." So the end of Esau's world is the beginning of Jacob's world. And we're witnessing the fall of Esau's world. So, one more precept. Isaiah 45:17, it says, Esau is the end of the world, Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. So what is Jacob's rule going to look like? Isaiah 45 and verse 17, and it reads, But Israel, the 12 tribes, the children of the Most High, but Israel shall be saved in the Lord, Yahweh, with an everlasting salvation. So Israel's rule is going to be an everlasting salvation. It's never going to end. Ye shall not be ashamed nor confounded, world without end. So the world, the rule of Israel, it won't have no end to it. It's going to be eternal. So with that, I hope that was edifying. Call Allah Yamla, Yahweh, Wa Yahweh Shai, Barakatah Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. All praises to the Most High, God of heaven and earth, whose name is Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Rakak Wadash. Double honor to the elders and apostles who labored faithfully in His truth and are the true teachers of Israel today. Peace, love, blessings, and salutations to the hopeful elect. Habayath Madawadah, the house of David. The brothers labor to make their calling of election sure. And to the Akim and Akwafim who also listen and believe on Hamashiach Yahushai, to you I say shalom as well. Shalom.